Can you talk to us about how sometimes when we have something, I know you speak about this, that disrupts the norm, it can
Mhm.
work in our favor?
Well, I would argue that everything is always working in your favor. So, um, if you have that attitude that whatever I'm experiencing is happening for me, not to me, what it does is, and look, I get it. It sounds airy fairy. It sounds, spiritual, fluffy, whatever you want to label it as. But what you can't deny is that it's liberating, it's freeing, because then you don't have to waste any time
Yeah.
wondering if this is supposed to be happening or not supposed to be happening. Right? Again, Pema Children, who's one of my
Mm.
biggest inspirations, she says, whatever is happening is your path. Right. So whatever you look around you right now, whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're feeling, that is a part of your path.
Yes.
And to take it even deeper, let's go to Joseph Campbell, who says that the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So
Mm.
within whatever's happening right now, there is a direction that will make you more comfortable temporarily, and there's a direction that will make you confront the unknown. And we tend to look for every excuse under the sun not to have to confront the unknown without realizing that confrontation it's the gateway to everything you want in life. Everything
Yes.
you've dreamt of in your entire life resides in that cave. So, what are we talking about? What
Yeah.
if being comfortable was the answer, you wouldn't be thinking about how uncomfortable comfort is.
Yes.
You wouldn't be having that gnawing feeling that there's something more to become. And so, yes, going into the cave is scary, but nothing will make you feel more alive. And again, it's always scariest just before you take that first step. So that's all you got to do is take the first step. And then the fear starts to dissipate and it gets replaced by strategy. What's the most efficient way? I've burned the boats, so to speak. So I can't go back. So I have to do what I have to do to make this work.
Mm.
And so that's kind of the trajectory that we want to find ourselves on. Number one, acceptance, radical acceptance of what I'm experiencing. Number two, look for the darkest cave. And number three, burn the boat, burn your fallback plan so you have no choice but to go into the cave and make your way out on the other side.
Hilarious. Why do you think light showing up in life is so important? Because I know that you have this great story about Moses that you tell.
Uh, um, God, I love that story so much. I've been thinking about it a lot because I do these master classes in my online community called the Happiness Insiders. And one of the classes is called Accessing Your Potential, where I'm teaching people how to access their potential. And a part of that, obviously, is um, doing the things that, for whatever reason, you never thought you were able to do. And most of those reasons we inherit it from either our upbringing or from society. Right? Society says these kind of people are not supposed to do these kinds of things, or they're not smart enough, they're not wealthy enough, they're not connected enough, whatever. And so Moses is such a well-known story from the Bible, even if you're not a Christian or you're not Jewish, but everyone has heard the story of
Yeah.
Moses and how he went up to Pharaoh and he said something to the effect of, let my people go. He was speaking about the Israelites because apparently Pharaoh had 2 million or something Israelites as slaves. And this was just what the deal was at that time in world history and in that civilization. That was his property. And, Pharaoh called the shots and he was, for all practical purposes, the most dangerous man in the land. So Moses is just a normal guy, right? Like anyone else, minding his business, going about his day, wearing his little sandals and his robe and doing his thing. And one day he finds himself out in the middle of nowhere and he sees this thing that he has no explanation for. And he goes closer and he sees that it's a bush that's on fire, but the fire's not consuming the bush. And we all know the story. This is apparently God speaking to Moses. And that's where God evidently gives Moses the directive to go to the most dangerous man in the world, in Moses's world, and basically tell him to give Moses possession of his property. so naturally Moses reacts in the way that any of us would react, which is, I don't know if you're talking to me. I don't know if you want me for that job. And God says, no, actually, yes, you're exactly the person I want. But what has come to light relatively recently is that scholars are now saying that Moses had a speech impediment. All right. They're suggesting that Moses was a stutterer. So now that increases the stakes even more. Now you have a regular guy who stutters, who can't even get through a full sentence without stuttering. And he's supposed to be the savior, the one to go to the most powerful, most dangerous man in the land and demand that this person release his property. And so once Moses gets his head around that, then he has the next obvious question, right, that anybody would have, which is, okay, let's suppose you're really God and you're really telling me to do this thing and I go through with it. Let's suppose I go through with the whole thing and get in front of Pharaoh. What exactly am I supposed to tell him? Because I can barely even talk myself. And God says something very unsatisfying to Moses in that moment. He says, just get in front of him and you'll know what to say. So this is requiring a gigantic amount of faith.
Yes.
Right? And that's what it takes to access our potential. Is we have to have, because see, we want the certainty, right? We want to know what to say. We want to know exactly, okay, what time is Pharaoh going to be at home? We want to know, okay, what do I need to wear? Like none of these things will get revealed to us. We just have to take that first step.
Yeah.
And that's what Moses did. And obviously it all worked out, all right, according to legend. So, but we all have our own version of that. Right now, we're facing our own version of that. It may be asking your boss for a raise. It may be quitting your job. It may be like you know, transitioning to something else that you're more passionate about. It may be moving cities, right? We all have our version of that. And we tend to think we're the only one. And I couldn't do this because it's embarrassing and it's this and what are people going to think? And I'm going to lose this. You can't think about what you're going to lose and successfully take that first step, right? At some point, you have to remind yourself that, yes, you will lose what you no longer need, evidently, because that's a part of the deal. But what are you gaining? Who are you going to be able to help? And what example are you giving to the people who are paying attention to you when you take that leap? And that's where we want to keep our attention. The fear is going to be there. We can't do anything about that. But we can direct our attention as many times as we need to